What's up? It's your girl, Dr. Tarika Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. And I help people to boss up uh, in their lives, career, and otherwise using knowledge, understanding, and awareness. And I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. Please hang in there with me while I double check all of my devices and make sure you can hear me and see me and all that other wonderful stuff. Again, I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. We're going to talk some trending topics. We're going to talk about what's happening in the world today and some of the things that we've probably all been thinking about and talking about throughout the week. And we're going to spend a little time together. And if you're joining me live, then go ahead and put hello in the comments. If you are joining me via the replay, then make sure that you put hashtag replay in the comments as well. I want to know when you arrived. And if you want to share where you're watching from, that's great too, but you don't have to. I don't like telling where I am sometimes if I don't know the person. So I totally understand. But anyway, tonight we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of things that have been burned up the airways. Okay, and so I know you can hear me on one of the places that you're seeing me live. We're gonna look at a couple of other ones. And so anyway, so as we talk tonight, I want you to be aware that we talk about hot topics from a different perspective than a lot of other channels or Facebook users or Instagram users, wherever you're watching me. When we talk about trending topics, we're talking about them and looking at the life lessons we can learn from them and looking at how we can apply that to live a better life ourselves. But we're keeping it real always, every day. We're just not hating on people, right? Because a lot of people use these as an opportunity to hate on other people and justify their jealousy. That's what I like to call it. Right. Justifying jealousy. So let me see here. Let's see. I've seen myself on there. I've seen myself on here. It's one other place I'm looking, guys, and then we're gonna jump right in. So anyway, hope you guys are feeling good tonight. A lot of stuff is going on in the world tonight. We're gonna definitely be touching on that Lizzo heat and drama that we've been seeing. Not just Lizzo in general, but I know there's a couple of scandals that have been happening with her. We're also going to talk about that. Her and Cardi and Boyce and Roland Martin. We're going to talk about them a little bit too, because I think they threw themselves in this conversation. It's like they're going to get all the smoke as far as I'm concerned. So anywho, I'm going to jump right in. Let's see who haven't I looked at. I haven't looked at Instagram. All right, so let's see here. So anyway, thank you for your patience. I hope everybody's feeling well tonight. I see you all are a little bit quiet. I do see that I'm not here alone. So please feel free. This is what I want you to do. If you've got something to say, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I want to make sure that you jump in that comment box and say something about it. Also, if you think that this time that we spend together is valuable and you think that what we share is important or that could help somebody else, I want you to feel free to share these lives so that your friends can know. Because I plan on sharing more and more valuable information in them as we go through. And so let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys. All right. So the first topic, let's see what I want to hit on first. We got so many wonderful things to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about who's popping up in my head first. Let's talk about Sha'Carrie. Okay. Sha'Carrie was painful for me to watch. And for those of you that need a little bit of a recap, Sha'Carrie Richardson kind of got on a lot of people's radar when she was in the Olympic qualifiers. And she did very well, did very, very well during that time. She was confident. Her speech made headlines, what she said when she was interviewed afterwards. And, a lot of people were inspired by her. Everybody was talking about her. And in her words, she became that girl. And so that was Sha'Carrie. That was her experience. And we talked about her back then because, she had a lot of haters initially because Sha'Carrie is very confident in her vibe, not just confident. She's confident in her appearance, right? So the way that she comes across, the way that she presents herself, you expect to see her doing the same things on the street, right? In her neighborhood or wherever. So Sha'Carrie took the world by storm. And then right after that, she was found to have marijuana in her system or whatever the active ingredient is in marijuana. And, that brought out the haters, right? People really had a ball making fun of Sha'Carrie. And so anyway, she got talked about pretty badly. I'll just say that. That's the most polite way I could say it. She got talked about pretty badly. And as she was going through all of this, Of course, she was not allowed to go into the Olympics anymore. We've talked about this already. And she faced up to her the consequences of her actions. She acknowledged responsibility. She didn't try to justify it, and she just didn't go. All right. And then so the most recent, the first opportunity for her to get out there and run another race came over this past weekend, just yesterday, Saturday, if you're here in the U.S. and you're watching this live. And Sha'Carrie finished last out of 9 people. There was a lot of back and forth between her getting in trouble about the marijuana and her participating in this race. There was a lot of back and forth between her and other Twitter users that we don't know who they are. They're just people. There was a lot of back and forth between her and some celebrities, namely Nicki Minaj. I know she and Nicki Minaj had some words, and there was some beef there too. There was a lot of drama going back and forth. At any rate, Carrie ran the race. She finished last, and as you can imagine, the trolls came out. Now, I have to always kind of picture the opposite personality type, the opposite of whatever, in order to make sure I'm being fair and saying what I'm about to say. Like, in other words, Carrie's a physically tiny female, and she's young. So it's easy to say people are picking on her, people are being bullied, people are being unfair. But I had to ask myself, if the same thing happened to Shaq or LeBron, a big, strong guy who's in a more aggressive sport, Richard Sherman, a football player, whatever, would I still feel the same way? So here's the deal. The trolls came out, and I think that that's to be expected in this situation, given the high profile, given that people were already clowning her before and had a hard time with some of the other stuff that she said. But here's what I noticed. In addition to the trolls coming out, some of the trolls that came out were a little more harsh than I think I would have seen them if it were LeBron. In other words, LeBron has been playing basketball for a long time. He's had some wins and some losses. Some of the trolls that came out that were celebrity trolls, they came a little harsher at Sha'Carrie than I ever saw them come at a LeBron or a KD or somebody, like I said, a bigger, stronger person that might see you at the airport and change your life. So let's look at a couple of the things that, some of the things that people were saying about Sha'Carrie before we go on. Alrighty. So I'm about to pull this up for you guys, and we're going to talk about it. But first, let's get it on your screen so you can see it. All right, so here's the deal. So here are some of the things that people were saying about Sha'Carrie, right? Some people said, this is Sha'Carrie, some of the things that Sha'Carrie had to say. First and foremost, and she was sharing a lot of these tweets. I got some growing to do. I wish the people that talk mess about me were cute. And so somebody said they felt like they could beat her. And she said, I triple your salary, a year's salary if you can. So these are all things that were being said about Sha'Carrie. And then we get to Roland Martin. And this is a reaction to Roland Martin. This is not what he said. This is a reaction to it. But let's get to some of the stuff, because Roland Martin actually became the butt of a lot of jokes, right? All the attention shifted from Roland Martin from Sha'Carrie to Roland Martin because of some of the things he said. So here's some of the things that people were saying about Roland Martin, right? These people really need to get out of their feelings and stop the hypocrisy. They act like she's the first athlete to be ridiculed. Well, I said that, right? If it was LeBron or KD, people are going to ridicule, but I want you to see how harsh Roland Martin was. And so I'm going to scroll down so we can see that first, and then we'll go back up and see how he was dragged for this. Man, there was a lot of stuff. Okay, and then we're going to see how he clapped back at anybody that said anything to him, because this is something that's really been making a lot of people uncomfortable when it comes to Roland Martin. Is lately he seems like an angry old dude, for lack of a better term. And I say, Roland Martin is not that much older than me and a lot of people I know. He just presents as much older. But here is what Roland Martin said. Dang, Sha'Carrie Richardson got smoked at the Prefontaine like a big Jamaican blunt. That was brutal. If you're behind, gonna write checks, they can't bounce. She finishes 9th. She got humbled real fast by the world's top sprinters. And so people immediately, as you can see in the comments right here on the screen, people immediately started clowning him and saying, an absolute clown. I mean, that with all the disrespect and disgust, you should be way above this low level tweet. Yet here you are mocking this young lady at 50 plus, and you should have way more other stuff going on in your life. And so that's what a lot of people were saying, basically, because apparently lately Roland Martin has a history and a pattern of coming for Black women. Now, it would be fine if he came for Black males the same, but we don't see that. You know, he seems to bully people that are smarter than him. Like there was a young man, I think his name was Corey, that had a school that he was starting, and he disagreed with Roland Martin. And so Roland Martin chopped him up on Twitter as well. So this was the tweet that got Roland Martin in trouble. And then a lot of people came at him saying it's like Black men of a certain age generally have an inferiority complex. I'm not saying that I believe that. But he just got a lot of people talking about why in the world he would be this angry at somebody that hadn't done anything to him and that was much younger than him. And that happened to be a female. It just comes across as bullyish, right? All right. So here's what he did to one of the people that commented on his tweet. Is he went in, and as you can see in the picture here, he is just going in on her. I'm not gonna play it just because I don't think it's worth our time. But I just kind of want you to see his mannerisms. If I can show that to you. Hold on, well, I will play it.
A single tweet. You're like, this is what you did. Hold up, I'm gonna recap what you said. You said your tweet was morally wrong. Your tweet could have put
I said I think you're morally. I said I think what you did was morally wrong.
You said your tweet could send her into depression. Really? No.
Yes, all of the tweets. I'm not saying
it's
your tweet. If you understand how depression works and how mental illnesses work and putting people in the state of depression, I'm not just saying your tweet. I'm saying
wait a minute.
You become a part of the conglomerate. You become
could ending in ninth place put you in depression?
Absolutely. Yes, it could. But she's a professional athlete. So what I would guess
wait.
I would guess that ninth place would.
Hold up. She's a what?
I train. If you go on my page, because I heard you say something about me earlier, I train professional athletes.
Hold on. You said she's a professional athlete, right?
With her being a professional athlete,
did you say she's a professional athlete?
Here's the thing: I cannot answer your questions if you're not allowed.
No. Did you say she's a professional athlete?
Not how you actually debate someone, or
no, I'm just asking. You said she's a professional athlete, right? Okay, go ahead.
Do you have anything else? Because I'm trying to explain something to you. You did the same thing to Corey. And so I understand what you're trying to say.
Corey was so all over the place.
I'm not all over the place. You won't let me finish.
Actually, you are, but go ahead.
So here's the thing. I'm not, as a Black woman, I don't come on into spaces trying to argue. I work in civil rights. And like I said, I met with you and I've actually spoken with you in circles a few times. What I'm saying is, what should not be happening, what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to sit online and debate about another with the Black man about a Black. No, I'm not.
You're literally asked to come on to debate.
No, I did not.
Oh,
I didn't want to explain why I think I did not want to debate because you won't let me finish.
You asked to come on to explain. Okay, guys.
So. Why won't you let someone finish speaking? This is so weird how you talk over people. It's very odd.
So the thing about that, and the reason I wanted you to hear it to the end, was because the argument that she had is she couldn't even get a word in edgewise. She's a mental health professional, and she works with athletes. And what she was saying was his tweet was more malicious than the average tweet, right? His tweet was more malicious. And it's not that he couldn't do it. There are a lot of things that trolls do on social media that may or may not be seen as okay. However, this is supposed to be a person that presents himself as an advocate for the Black community. He's forever trying to show up at doing the equivalent of ambulance chasing for social justice to me. He's forever trying to show up at places where something has happened and present himself as an advocate, as the next generation MLK or Jesse Jackson or somebody like that, mixed together with Oprah, because he wants to be this correspondent. And the thing about it is you can't play both sides of the fence. If that's who you're going to be, then be that. If you're going to do that, then support people. Or if you're going to be a reporter that reports, then report. If you're going to be a social justice advocate, then be that. But you cannot troll people in social media aggressively at your age and at your stage in your career, he is just coming across like a very bitter man. And a lot of people cited what's going on in his career. Like, and not that we know the specific details, but what we can see is he was fired from TV One. He was fired from other networks before that. And he was not happy about it. He's tried to build himself his own platform, and he's gotten literally chased away from situations that have happened that were social justice issues because nobody wants him there as an advocate. And so I say that to say the anger that he has for this young person who's trying, right? Or who seems to be having issues. Like, even if you feel some type of way about Sha'Carrie, it's not the fact that he is acting like this. It's the fact that on Monday, he's going to try to pretend like he's a social justice advocate again. And so not only did he get trolled in so many other ways, one of the things that that we saw were people making fun of him when he cried because people showed up to vote Democrat and other things. But it was just like, you can't come for Sha'Carrie Richardson and then show up on social media crying in your car because people are voting for a person that may or may not be seen as an advocate to Black people. Yeah, you can't have it both ways. You just can't, and I think, and somebody actually said that basically they said, if he's going to clap at Sha'Carrie, then he can't be above being clapped at himself. Like, he can get it. You know what I'm saying? He can get that same treatment that he's wanting to share with her. So I just kind of wanted to show you that, show and share with you. For those of you on Instagram, you heard it, you didn't see it. So I just wanted to show you that because it's important, because he is getting trolled so harshly. And that brings us to Sha'Carrie's situation. So I always kind of try to listen to what other people are saying, and people are going in on her really hard. I'm not surprised because she was very brash and confident. And even when after the race itself, she stayed on that page, and people don't tend to feel super comfortable with that. And some of it, to me, she's doing to help herself, right? To boost herself. So in other words, she might not be 100% convinced, but she's 90% convinced of a lot of the stuff she's saying. At least that's how she's coming across. I hope that she's fine, and I hope that she deals with this loss, because it's a devastating loss. I hope that she deals with it as she comes back. She does have a lot more races to run, which is one of the things that she said. But I do feel like a lot of men are using this as an excuse to out of the closet with their misogyny and bash her, because some men are irked by confident women who don't ask permission and who don't qualify themselves or classify themselves by the ownership of a man. So in other words, if you're single or married, but you're not standing behind your man when you present yourself as whatever thing that you are in the public eye, a lot of people are triggered by that and they don't even realize it. So she opened herself up to a lot just by standing strong, acting confident, being young, and not being overly gracious. And let me just say to you, a lot of these so-called humble people that pretend to be humble are not humble. They're fake humble. It's what I call fake humble, right? Because they don't mean it. The thing about humility is where you don't puff yourself up to be more than you are, but you also respect your fellow man and you build them up. And as you're, being celebrated. A lot of these people who say that they're humble, they just don't want anybody else bragging about whatever they've done. They don't want to hear it. A lot of people feel uncomfortable. For a lot of people, your success is going to be what makes them feel like a failure in life. And they won't accept the fact that if they feel like a failure, it's because they haven't stood up and tried and taken the risk, or given themselves an opportunity, or been willing to fail in front of everyone. No, they're going to blame the successful person. They're going to blame you. I always say it's much like the smokers behind the bleachers back in the day in high school. And, some of this is before my time. Some of it may be before your time. But back in the day, people used to sneak and smoke. If you walked up on a group of people smoking, they were going to get really uncomfortable if you didn't smoke too. Not because of anything that you had done. It's just that you not smoking makes them question if they look bad to you. So I say that to say, that's what I think. And so when you're confident and you're doing well in life and it causes other people to question if they are doing well enough, then they will come at you. They will come at you with all of the anger they have at themselves for not being what they wish they were. All right. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Sha'Carrie. I think that she opened the door for this criticism by being so outspoken in her confidence before. But just like with everything else, it's like she has the opportunity to overcome and be okay. So that's Sha'Carrie. All right, moving on to our next topic. And usually I have these things listed in front of me. All right, so yeah, so let's talk about who's next. Who's next? Who we got on? Okay, I'm gonna talk about Florida schools, but I think I'm gonna save that a little bit because I'm in my feelings about that a little bit. Let's talk about Lizzo, another strong black woman, another black woman that's in the news, another black woman that's under fire. The difference, though, is Lizzo is coming fresh off of a successful release of a new song with Cardi B called Rumors. And I say successful because it's topping the charts and it's being played in heavy rotation and people are singing it and people are quoting it and Lizzo looks fabulous and wonderful, and Cardi B looks good in the video. And to be honest, there hasn't been as much criticism about this song as there was about the song that Cardi B did with Normani. But here's the thing. People have been, but Lizzo went through some drama. Let me just say this. So I'm going to share with you the Instagram live really quickly and for those of you watching via Instagram, you won't see it, but you'll be able to hear it. The live that Lizzo, when she went live and what's got her under fire. But the bottom line is, while I'm bringing this up, Lizzo went live and cried. But I tell you what, before I share that, I'm going to share with you some of the positive feedback that Lizzo got for this video. And then we'll go into some of the bashing that she got. All right, so here's what a lot of people are saying about Lizzo right now, or that's what they're saying initially. Let's go ahead and make it so you can see a full screen. All right, so for those of you that are watching, I'm going to read, for those of you that are watching via Instagram, I'm going to read it to you, right? But here are some of the things that people are saying about Lizzo and about this video. As a pregnant woman who struggles with accepting her new body, I am incredibly grateful for I Am Cardi B in the Rumors video. Makes me want to put myself in gold paint and show off the bump. Okay, so that one, giving Cardi B some props. All right, then we have somebody that said, I just know Lizzo gonna eat up the VMA stage. So we got people that are excited about Lizzo doing the VMAs because apparently that's one of the performances that they're thinking is gonna come real soon here. We got people saying, oh wait, y'all think y'all finna bully my girl Lizzo? Let's get Rumors to #1 on the chart because yeah, you'll see why in just a moment what they're referencing with the bullying. So that's just a little clip of the video. We got people saying Lizzo and Cardi are the only thing keeping them sane and alive. This is somebody's meme talking about me while listening to Rumors when Cardi B's verse comes on. It's a hot song. It's a hot song. It's a really catchy song. It's not your typical hip hop song. It sounds like it's infused with rock. And that's one of the things that Lizzo says in there, or pop at least, is that black people created rock. I think it's one of the lines from the song. So Lizzo is just real loud and proud in this video. And so you ask, now we're getting into, by the way, this picture that's on the screen here. It says, Lizzo, we love you, do it for the Rumors. This picture is from the live where she kind of broke down crying. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Next. Okay, and I've got it queued up. So I'm going to share my screen. For those of you that are watching via Instagram, you can listen along. It really is it's the sound bite for me anyway. Like that's what was most important, was to hear what she was saying. All right, so here we go.
So Sometimes I feel like the world just don't love me back. It's like it doesn't matter how much positive energy you put into the world, you're still gonna have people who have something mean to say about you. And for the most part, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. I just think when I'm working this hard, my tolerance gets lower. My patience is lower. I'm more sensitive. And it gets to me. There's so many people who love rumors. And I'm so happy. I really am. Because we worked hard, and I know that this hard work is paid off. Cardi B worked her fucking ass on. Atlantic worked their asses off. My team Lizzo, we went hard. I'm grateful.
Okay, so you get the gist, guys. I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of it because, right, it's not a huge deal, right? In terms of, yes, it makes you feel some sympathy and compassion. She's working really hard, but she also got some disparaging comments. She didn't ever say what the comments were, but later on in that video, which is 11 minutes, you can find it for yourself if you just Google it. But one of the things she says is that there was misogyny. No, she didn't say misogyny. She said racism, and she might have said misogyny. But somebody called her some things that I'm not going to repeat. But, you know, they referenced her weight as well as a couple of other things and call her a name that is associated with big Black women. And yeah, that would hurt, you know, to anybody else. But I also feel like what this did was it opened the door for some people that are considered to be clout chasers to come through. Boyce Watkins was one of them. So Boyce Watkins, as you know, for those of you who might have known, hey there, I see some people joining me. So happy to see you. Glad to have you here. But so Roland Martin was one of the people who came out of the woodworks. Now, in the past, not Roland Martin, Boyce Watkins. In the past, Boyce Watkins said horrible things about Lizzo. He had all kinds of issues with her. His main issues, according to him, are her sexuality, her being so sexual, and her being a big woman and showing her body all the time. He feels like his argument was that encouraged obesity. Now, my immediate response when he came out of the closet with this before was Roland Martin. Roland Martin too, but Boyce Watkins is a chubby guy. And I can say that because I'm a big woman, so no shade. Boyce Watkins is a chubby guy. So if Lizzo's body is encouraging obesity in women, is his body encouraging obesity in men? Because he shows up every day. He's all over social media. He presents himself to be very successful. Whether or not you believe that is up to you. He's bragging about this marriage that he just got. He acts like he thinks he's a dapper Don. Is he? And he's not apologetic for his weight. Why is it okay for him to criticize Lizzo for her weight, but nobody's saying anything to him? He's very rotund. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm not sitting up here complaining about saying that big people are encouraging obesity. He is. So that would be my question for Boyce Watkins. And I may just tag him in this because I would love for him to respond to that question. If Lizzo is encouraging obesity in women, is he encouraging obesity in men? That's a good question for Mr. Boyce Watkins. All right. So the other thing that really came out of the woodwork here was a lot of people had a lot of love and support for Lizzo, as you can imagine. A lot of stars, you know, came to her defense. This is what I will say. And I said it before because I forget why I was talking about Lizzo before. For some reason, Lizzo came up and I said, I just feel like some of the confidence that she's exuding is not fully deep down 100% authentic. I think it's what she desires to feel about herself, or I think that she vacillates. Sometimes she feels that way and sometimes she doesn't. But because of that, she puts herself out there for people who hate themselves, like a Boyce Watkins, and it allows them an opportunity. It puts a bullseye on her for people like that to come at her. And that's not okay. It's not okay for them to do that. But if you feel vulnerable about it, you know, those are some of the things that you got to think about. She's putting herself out there as being confident in an area that it sounds like she is not. Now, having said that, I just feel like judgment, it's time out for it for me. Like everybody that's got 11 things to say about every single thing that somebody else does and is outraged about somebody else every day, all day, I think they got issues for themselves. It speaks more about the person that's outraged than it does about the person. So this speaks more to what Boyce Watkins, and according to him, you'll have to Google him and look him up too. I'm not going to play his response because it's getting late. But according to him, he loves Lizzo. He feels like he asked all his followers to put in the chat box that they love Lizzo. I hope she's not hanging on every word of that. And then he said he loves her as a person and as a spirit. He just feels like her persona that she projects is foul. He doesn't like the twerking. He doesn't like her showing her body. And there are a lot of people that may not want to see a woman show her body all the time. I just feel like that's just it. That's their opinion. That's their belief. I hope that Lizzo takes this opportunity to love herself and to really get stronger in her confidence. Because when you put yourself out there, as did Chloe Bailey, I love her and her sister. My daughters like them as well. Been following them since before they hit it big and went on tour with Beyonce. But she started being more sexy and provocative with her content that she was putting out there on social media, and people had a fit. If you're going to do it, you got to have what I call the Madonna mentality. Madonna didn't give a what other people thought. She just didn't. At least that's the way she came off. I'm sure it hurt in her private rooms and all this other stuff, but it didn't stop her from doing what she did. It didn't stop her from being who she was. And I'm like, if you're going to put yourself out there, know that people are going to hate on you. It's just, you could do absolutely nothing wrong and people would still hate on you. You could do everything that they say that they believe is right. But if you have anything going on in your life where you're going to come across as confident, or you're going to come across as having things that other people don't, get ready, because they're going to hate on you. They're going to be jealous of you. You just got to keep it pushing. All right. So those are my thoughts about Lizzo again. And I really do hope that she continues to do well with her song and everything else that's going on in her life. So let's see who's next. I want to talk about Florida schools really quickly. And again, I know, let's see how long we've been on together. We've been on about 30 minutes. Yeah. So I'm not going to be on too much longer, but I want to talk about Florida schools, and not just Florida schools, because we're seeing this debate in other states too. Governor DeSantis has issued an executive order saying that schools cannot mandate, or school districts cannot mandate masks in the schools. And people are up in arms, as you can imagine. They're super duper upset, and rightly so. I'm not going to take the time to show all of the you can Google it and see it. And I know there are 2 or 3 other states that are doing similar things. So you can Google it and see what they're doing. But I live here in Florida, and it's also at the top of national news. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. But here were my thoughts, right? In the executive order, he says that parents have the right to choose. He doesn't say the students cannot wear masks. He says that parents have the right to choose, and therefore schools should not be allowed to compel students to come to school in a mask. Now, I wear a mask. My kids wear a mask. However, my thought was, if he has enacted an executive order saying that parents have a choice, I would love to look at the applications of that executive order to see how that applies. Because if you feel very strongly about mask wearing, then in the meantime, until laws and legalities and appeals and all this other stuff start flying out the woodworks, and they will, you could use this as an opportunity to pull your child from a school that you feel like is not going to protect them and not going to ensure their safety. See, there are so many laws that make parents a little afraid to make their own decisions when it comes to education, that any time that parents have a better opportunity to make decisions for themselves is a good thing. I'm not saying that it's okay for the school in your district to take your money, your tax dollars, your property taxes, and use them to pay for a school that you cannot use. I'm not saying that that's okay, but retired people have to do it all the time. I'm just saying my first order of business is to protect my children. Secondly, I want to fight for what's right and what's fair in the schools. And there are so many arguments about masking here's the concern I have. What is going to be used to stop him from this executive order being enforced could also be used to force kids to be vaccinated. And so if you have a problem with the federal government or the state government deciding whether or not your child deciding whether or not your child can wear a mask, you're going to have an even bigger problem with the federal or state government deciding whether or not your child is vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. And I'm not trying to get in the chat and argue with all of you people that are vaxxers and anti-vaxxers. I don't have time for that. I am so over people arguing about stuff. It just really, really is getting on my nerves. If you're upset about it, go do something about it. Don't come for me. I don't have time. And I'm not a lawmaker. So there. But I'm saying that to say any opportunity where you can make the decision and you're not going to be penalized is a good one. Because right now, as it stands, if you pull your child from the local school, you have to jump through several hoops in order to justify the decision, and you've got to prove that you have alternatives. So if the school that your local school that's right up the street is not mandating masks, then you feel like masks should be worn, or vice versa. If they are mandating masks and you feel like masks should not be mandated, then this may be a good opportunity to get to find out how you can use the same executive order to pull your child and put them in a different school. Because maybe you want to still have them in brick and mortar school. You just don't want them to go to that one. That's not always an easy fix for people outside of these times. That's been one of the biggest headaches, is you have to get approval from the district in order to move your child. And if it's a school that costs something, that may not be in the budget for everybody else. So this may be an opportunity to get some of that change to make it a little easier for parents to be able to pick and choose where they want to send their child to school without necessarily having to pay for private schools, because private is not always best. So those are my thoughts on it, but I'm very, very concerned at how this is going to all shake out. As a parent of 2 school-age children, I really, let me just be flat honest with you. I think it's a great excuse if there's any way that you can pull your child from a brick and mortar school and you don't feel good about it. This is as good a time as any to do that. That's not to say that works for everybody. I understand that some people have to take their child to brick and mortar school, and not just for babysitter reasons, because a lot of people use school as the babysitter and the daycare. I've got videos on how to look at how many things you're actually relying on the school for, so you can start separating all those decisions and see what other opportunities you have, what other resources you have, because this may not be ideal for you. The local school may not have been ideal for you in the first place. And that's the reality, right? Is that for a lot of people, local schools weren't working. The reason you hated having to homeschool your child or having to do distance learning with your child last year is because you had to see firsthand how horrible their school experience was. I've got other videos on that. I'm going to be talking about that again in future. I'm not sure when, because there are a lot of other topics that I want to talk about, but I always seem to keep circling back to school, education, and parental decisions that are related to it. But I do so much more. So anyway, that's that. I really do feel like we need to be looking as parents at what is best for our children right now, and looking at how we can use all of our resources to put our child in a more ideal education circumstance or situation right now. And if the local school is the best you can do, then look into whether or not you can just move your child to a different school if you don't like the way that school is doing it. When you start fighting for the state government to mandate things, or the federal government to mandate things, understand that they're not going to be able to do what is best for everybody. They're going to be able to either do what is best for most, do what is popular, or do what appeases them. And raise your hand if you understand that neither of those options is ideal for your child, because it's not. All right. So those are my thoughts on Florida schools and Governor DeSantis and everything else that's going on there. What else do we need to talk about before I close tonight? Now, I was those were going to be my 3 topics. I wasn't going to talk about much more. But I do want to hit on one other thing that I think is major, so we can talk about that, because again, this is another Black woman. As I'm looking at it, as I'm talking to you now, I'm seeing this trend, right? There are a lot of things that are happening that to me are signs of progress, even though it's inching forward ever so slightly. But Black women who are talented, strong, smart, and brave and confident, but also who show the slightest bit of vulnerability are getting attacked. And I hate to say it, but as I'm looking at this, so far we've talked about Lizzo and we've talked about Sha'Carrie, and we've talked about two Black males that are doing the attacking, leading the charge. And it's not just them. I didn't share a lot of the other tweets that were there because for the sake of time, but like scrolling down, looking under the hashtags that are related, so many men are coming so hard for these two women, so many Black men. And that's painful for me to see as a Black woman with a son and a husband, because when it's time to stand, and make sure that things are getting better for Black people in this country, we very much try to stand together. Black women were at the forefront when George Floyd was murdered. Black women were at the forefront when so many other Black men have been murdered over the last decade or two. It is painful to watch Black men attack Black women right now for losing or for being vulnerable or for having a hard time or for having a rough day or for not showing up or for showing up too loud and proud. So let me get into this Naomi Osaka. Now, this one is not, I can't say that I feel like a Black man is the main aggressor or the primary aggressor for her, but I have seen Black men, particularly in the press and as sport in the sports related press, come for Naomi. So let me share this quick video with you to show you what she went through for those of you that haven't seen it. And this will be the last topic for tonight. I hope you all are enjoying it. It's always a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. As I tweak my process, I'm looking to make things more interesting and engaging, but also make sure that we're talking about the topics that are important, the trending topics. And we're going to wrap it up with what lessons we need to take from these things and to apply in our lives so that we can be more successful. All righty. So here is Naomi.
Let's follow up on that last question. You're not crazy about dealing with us, especially in this format. Yet you have a lot of outside interests that are served by having a media platform. I guess my question is, how do you balance the two? And also, do you have anything you'd like to share with us about what you did say to Simone Biles?
When you say I'm not crazy about dealing with you guys, what does that refer to?
Well, you've said it, you don't especially like the press conference format. And yet that seems to be the obviously the most widely used means of communicating to the media and through the media to the public.
So before we go further, I just want to point out something here. He sounds like he's being really polite, doesn't he? He sounds like this is just an innocent question being asked by a reporter. Again, he sounds like he is asking an innocent question, but this is a leading question. This reporter has been vicious toward her before. And his question to her uses the word crazy when we're all well aware that mental health is one of the reasons that she stepped back before. So there is a loaded insult in there as well. And then he asked her, well, if you're not crazy about talking to us, how do you balance that with needing us, basically, in order to pursue your other money, right? Your endorsements and stuff. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about outside of sports. Now, let me just say that last part is an insult too, because while I do think that sports media is useful and valuable for driving up the popularity of a brand, I also don't believe that it is necessary in order for her to have endorsements. Sports media doesn't get her a Nike endorsement, an Adidas endorsement, a fashion endorsement. didn't get Serena Williams her fashion line. Sports media didn't do that. As a matter of fact, that's the least interesting conversations that she has for people who are not necessarily into that sport. And I'm over a lot of these sports media, the journalists. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of personalities that I like. I really do enjoy listening to a lot of sports journalists as they interview the athletes. But when you act as if your job is necessary in order for sports to happen, I want to take you back to a time when athletes didn't have to be public figures. They didn't have to get interviewed after every game. As a matter of fact, we wanted them to speak less. That's why the entitled media has no problem telling LeBron to shut up and dribble, because there was a time when that's all athletes did was whatever their thing was. If it was a basketball player, it was dribbling. If it was a football player, it was tackling. But what they didn't do was have to stand in front of the media and talk. And let me just say, just because he's a reporter doesn't make him the most eloquent guy on the planet. He struggled to get this simple question out, as you're going to hear, because she asked him to reframe his question, and he really couldn't. So I just want you to see her reaction in a minute so you'll understand. But I wanted to share the backdrop, because on the surface, this looks very innocent. But let me just say, if you know that somebody is coming for you and messing with you because you agreed to be somewhere against your better judgment, this is a whole lot more than just an innocent question.
That's interesting. I would say the occasion, like when to do the press conference, is what I feel is the most difficult. But sorry, I'm thinking.
I think we can move on to the next question, Naomi. Do you want to move on to the next question?
No, I'm actually very interested in that point of view. So if you could repeat that, that'd be awesome.
The question was that you're not especially fond of dealing with the media, especially in this format. You suggested there are better ways to do it. That we'd like to try to explore that. My question, I guess, was you also have outside interests beyond tennis that are served by having the platform that the media presents to you. My question is, how do you think you might be able to best balance the two?
I mean, for me, I feel like this is something that I can't really speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself. But ever since I was younger, I've had a lot of media interest on me, and I think it's because of my background as well as, how I play. Because in the first place, I'm a tennis player. That's why a lot of people are interested in me. So I would say in that regards, I'm quite different to a lot of people, and I can't really help that there are some things that I tweet or some things that I say that kind of create a lot of news articles or things like that. And I know that it's because I've won a couple Grand Slams and I've gotten to do a lot of press conferences that these things happen. But I would also say, I'm not really sure how to balance the two. I'm figuring it out at the same time as you are, I would say.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. We're going to do 4 more questions, or 4 more journalists. We're going to go Courtney, Jeff, Stuart, and then Ben Rothenberg. So Courtney, please go ahead and state your name and publication, please. Thank you.
Okay, so if you'll watch here.
Insider. Hello, Naomi.
Watch here. This is a very innocent question, but look at Naomi. She's already crying. She's already crying. And I'm going to point something out about this in just a moment.
And the second one is just related to your tweet over the weekend, related to what's going on in Haiti. And yeah, just what your reaction is to the news there. Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're super good.
Okay, I think we're just going to take a quick break. We'll be back in one moment.
Okay, so there we have the interview. So a lot of people felt that she walked off because of the question about Haiti, and I'm sure that is hitting home because her father is from Haiti, and she seems to be in touch with where her parents are from, both of them, But she was crying already. Let me just say this. This is what came to my mind when I heard what happened, and then when I saw it. Don't mistake tears for sadness, for weakness. Sometimes tears are a sign of being totally infuriated and having no place to put your anger and knowing that you cannot put your hands on the person who triggered it. As a woman, and in particular, as a Black woman, we have to be very careful to not be perceived as angry. Because if we're perceived as angry, whoever we're with has a high chance of being triggered and accusing us. And once that happens, we're not going to get hurt. So I say that to say it is very easy to be in a situation where decorum requires you to be a certain way, polite, respectful, and all these other things. And you have all these other feelings happening that you cannot address or deal with or cause to dissipate fast enough because it's happening too fast. And so in your lack of ability to be able to release that feeling, deal with it or address it, those tears will come up sometimes. And it's really just because of the frustration of not being able to express that feeling. Because it wouldn't have been okay for her to call him a name or be disrespectful. Now, men do it all the time. They do it all the time. How many times have you seen basketball players get up and just walk out of the interview? LeBron is famous for getting up and grabbing his man purse and walking out with his shorts on from one interview, but he's not the only one. There's the Russell Westbrook, that moment where he does that and it has become a meme. There's Allen Iverson saying practice. We're talking about practice. There's so many more, like I could pull them up, right? They're the coaches. Oh my gosh, what was the Bears coach that I jokingly said he spanked the microphone? He's no longer with us, but he said the Bears are who we thought they were. He wasn't the Bears coach. He was their opposition. I forget who he was. I can see his face in my mind. But my point is, men do it all the time. It's just like on the tennis court. McEnroe could lose his temper, lose his mind. Degassi could lose his temper, lose his mind, and he's a passionate player. But when Serena does it, she is being emotional. She's having a temper tantrum, and she's being unprofessional. And so I'm like, she's sitting there in that pressure cooker. She's already dealing with somebody that she absolutely doesn't like. And don't think for a second that she couldn't have hands for him if they are face to face. This is not fear. This is not a little girl cowering in sadness. This is frustration and maybe something else. It may have to do with whatever she's experiencing. I think depression was a couple of other things. But my point is, it's not, I don't think that those tears were triggered by that question about Haiti, even though it might have compounded however she was feeling. And I say that to say this. It is saddening to see so many women, in particular Black women, that are celebrities for one reason or another, allowing themselves to acknowledge their pain and hurt in front of the world right now, and then being attacked for it. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen to other people. If they were men and they cried, T.O. notoriously cried because he wanted everybody to leave his quarterback alone, and he never got to live that down. I just shared with you an image of Roland Martin crying at when it was time to vote, and he's getting trolled for that right now because he clapped at Sha'Carrie Richardson. So it's not that men won't get it as well. It's just that it's not seen as, I think, to be honest, it's not even so much the crying. It's the people that seem to be attacking these women because of an agenda that they had long before the incident at hand took place. And so I'd like to hope that things get better in our community, although Roland Martin seems to be digging in and doubling down, and going further in. And this is what I will say about Roland Martin and Boyce Watkins. Your star is not going to rise more trampling on the women who look like the women that birthed you and who look just like the women that you are charged to raise. I know Boyce Watkins has daughters. I don't know about Roland Martin or stepdaughters. And I say that to say it would help if you thought about those faces and then measured your response accordingly. It doesn't mean that you can't critique, but when you are malicious, it really speaks more about you than it does about the women that you're talking about. And you're lucky that you didn't come for Serena Williams like that, or Venus. I've seen them handle the press very well, very quickly, very rapidly, and without a blink of an eye. And I know they slept well that night. And that's the whole point. I think that's the point, right? I think that's what it is. If these two men went after everybody like that, I don't know that it would bother me so bad. But I have yet to see Boyce Watkins or Roland Martin or that reporter go after men that are big and strong and burly and got hands and words for days. I have yet to see that. So it will be interesting to see as things continue. What can we learn from these things? Well, as it relates to Naomi Osaka and Lizzo and Sha'Carrie, I think that the same lesson can apply. And that is simply this: stand up for yourself. Be your own best advisor, but have yourself a team of people that you can trust. Fight to ensure that your greatness is always exemplified in everything that you do. And be confident and F them all if they don't like it. Period. There's going to be people who's going to have a problem with your confidence. Don't let that be your problem. Let it be theirs. That's what I'll say. As far as this thing with Florida schools, I think what we can learn from it is it's very interesting that the law or that the executive order is written as some parental freedom or given parental choice or what have you, parental protection, some kind of way it's written. I would look into, as parents, what can you do to protect your child, to give them the best opportunity in life right now? We don't assume it's the school up the street, and don't assume that it's the neighborhood private school, the best private school in town. Do your due diligence. Figure out what your needs are as a family, and then go after what's best for your child. It may be time to stop depending on school for daycare. And if that's the case, then bite the bullet now, sooner rather than later. You'll thank yourself later for doing so. Your child will thank you too. But yeah, that's what I would say. Don't trust people more than you trust yourself and your child to know what's best. So let's see, what other stuff did we talk about today? I think that'll do it. I think that's it. Let's see. We talked about the ladies of elegance and power and dignity. We talked about, Florida schools. And that's that. Next time we get together, we'll be talking about more hot topics. And very soon I'm going to go live and talk about I'm going to answer the question that I get asked the most as an education consultant, because I do other things for people. I keep telling you guys that, and I'll start showing you more of what's coming up later. But what I get asked most often is college worth it? So I'm going to answer that question in a future live, because I really want to dig deeply into it and talk about a couple of things that I think people are missing and I think people are misapplying. And you're going to be surprised at my answer, because it's probably not what you think. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Oh, and don't forget, and I will have the link in my bio if it's not already there. If you're watching me via Instagram, if you're watching me on YouTube or Facebook, I'll have the link in the description of this video come tomorrow morning, because it is after midnight. But try my new course, Better Money, Career, and Relationships Now. You can try the first unit, the first chapter of the course for free. And I'm going to link it to this video so that you can check it out. I'm telling you, if you're looking to boss up in your life, if you're looking to make things better, this is it's not a starter pack, because if you've already started, it's fine. It'll help you continue. It'll help you level up forward. It'll help you secure the bag, if you will. It'll help you shore up your process for how you're going to make things better for yourself, how you're going to build a better life experience, how you're going to boss up, right? In your life, in your career, your business, doesn't even matter. And it will help you in the areas of money, career, and relationships, and it will help you now. I stand by this course. I've used these methods myself, and I have shared them with many clients, and they have used them as well. Also, stay tuned, because we're going to be coming up with more packages and services and things that I'm going to be doing as I continue to add more content, and you'll get to see what's on the horizon for me, some of the projects that I'm doing. Until next time, thank you so much for staying up late with me. We call this Late Night with Dr. Lou. I am your girl, Dr. Tarika Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. Oh, and before I forget, like, share, follow, subscribe, whichever one you're watching me on, do the thing. And don't forget to put comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me off if you need to. Go off, sis. Go off, bro. I got this. It'll be fine. We'll talk about it. We'll get past it because we're family. Until next time, it's your girl, Dr. Tarika Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. I believe in you, and I'm here to help you boss up. And until next time, I am out.